Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to the Vegan World 2026 Moonshot podcast. This is the 25th episode, and today I'm joined by Molly Basler, who is running for LA City Council. So, we are going to be talking about local politics and how we can actually change the planet based on what we decide at the local levels. And Molly is running for the 5th district. So I'm going to introduce you to her momentarily. Hello, Molly. Good
Hi there.
morning.
Good morning. So I'm so excited to be here. So thank you for having me.
Glad you could join us. It's great to have a conversation with someone who is actually trying to clutch at the levers of power and do something with it.
Yes, here, here. Yeah.
I know.
So yeah. So yes. Go. Sorry.
Now, I was going to ask you, now, how did you even think about running for election, and what made you do what you're doing now?
Well, I'm an animal activist. I'm a vegan. I am. I started marching with PETA. Gosh, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when I had my moment of awakening and realized what was going on with the animals. Their plight, the inhumanity, and then the connection to the climate emergency that we're in, that the meat and dairy are contributing, are the main source for the climate emergency. So, and then I became a community organizer, environmentalist. And so it was my evolution. It was like in steps.
Right.
And about 4 years ago, I went to Pittsburgh and studied the climate crisis with Al Gore and became a climate leader. And then I came back from there, and that's when I started to think, I could hopefully make change as a political leader with sustainable solutions, running a vegan campaign, sustainable campaign, and showing that vegans and animal activists can be viable political leaders. And that I just felt my platform could be bigger. I could save more lives. People, planet, and animals is my 3 tiers, and it starts in local government, because at the end of the day, we can march and march, but we always end up going to the political leaders to put laws into place to make change. So that's where we need more activists, more vegans, animal activists to run for office.
Right. So you're saying, the vegan movement is basically a grassroots movement, right? It's been fueled from the grassroots by people. It's not, no one is pushing veganism from the political levers at the moment, And so this is why I found it fascinating that you are trying to do this from the bottom up, at the local level, at the city level. So I know you got involved in the Bayona wetlands.
Yes.
And so how much does the city of Los Angeles have a say in that, in what happens there?
Well, if we had political leaders who had courage, they say they are for the climate emergency. They say they love animals, but nobody is taking a position on it because of political power forces and not upsetting this person and not upsetting this person. I mean, the governor was out there and he said, "Oh yes, I will make sure Bayona is protected." He's never done it. So if we had the city council on board, and then the mayor, and then it goes up to governor, all Gavin has to do is sign a thing, and it could be saved. But nobody's taking a stand. So what you asked, yes, local politics could help save Bayona if people started taking stands on it. Everybody has been very wishy-washy. We've had Senator Ben Allen out there, Gavin Newsom, Congressman Ted Lieu. We've had Eleni Kounalakis, our lieutenant governor. They all go out there. They see the beauty. Oh, yes, we want to save this, and then nothing gets done. So, that's the system, though. That's the gridlock. That's the homelessness. That's the climate emergency. It all comes back to greed and people doing things for positioning their political power rather than what is right for people, planet, and animals. And that's I want to I want to be part of the change of that, because I believe it is possible that we live in a world that is for people, planet, and animals, not for ourselves and political power.
Right. Yeah. There's a recent paper that came out, a scientific paper, which was talking about the global ecological challenges that we face today, and they were basically pointing out that the political system has created a global ecological Ponzi scheme.
Right.
So it's basically a Ponzi scheme that's running, and this is why they need to keep growing it. Because if we don't grow a Ponzi scheme, it collapses.
Right.
So they're stuck. They're all like Bernie Madoff. They're running around, trying to grow this Ponzi scheme. And so what can we do at the local level to say that's enough? We've had enough of this. There must be different ways of organizing ourselves.
Vote in leaders who are running on integrity and courage and grassroots, who aren't taking money from oil and gas, which I'm not. I will not take money from anything, any corporation that is hurting people, planet, and animals. I won't do it. So what we're trying to do, which no one's ever done, is have solar companies donate, wind energy, vegan companies, so we become viable. Because the oil and gas run the city. They run everything. Meat and dairy, big pharma. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's outrageous that we live in a place that organizations, corporations, we really are run by corporations at this point, and on the local level also. I mean, oil and gas are giving to the political leaders, big developers. I mean, it's so I'm trying to have a viable campaign run by clean energy donations, vegan contributions, because like Beyond Meat and Impossible Foods, and I mean, I believe that it's possible, and then we can have some change. And leaders who are going in with integrity and courage and not afraid to stand up to the status quo. I mean, the political machine is already in place, in my race. Old time political leaders, using their name to push these candidates who are their puppets, who are going to go in and do exactly the same thing that their staff members, attorneys, it's the same old thing. And it just shocks me that why aren't people tired yet? Aren't people sick of the status quo? I mean, you look at LA, you see exactly what local government's doing by what's going on in the streets. Our air is filthy. There's homelessness more than ever. There's not enough housing. That is all created from our local level. So obviously it's not working, and that we should live in a world that is compassionate and humane to one another, to all species, and to the planet, because without a planet, we don't have much,
Right. But do you think that, taking money from vegan companies or renewable energy companies, are we then trying to create a different ecological Ponzi scheme as opposed to the one that's being done now? So that's the kind of question that comes up, right?
Because, I don't, I just think if we're doing good, I mean, in the sense of the Ponzi scheme, so we just then we just keep doing the same thing and keeping people in positions of power?
It's a different set of people. It's basically like saying, get rid of these people, but put other people, but it's the same structure. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So if
yeah.
it's the same structure, it's the same overall Ponzi scheme is the same. So that's the question that comes up. When we talk about transformation, we tend to talk about, is this the only way to organize ourselves, or is there different ways of organizing ourselves? And I think it starts at the local level. I think what you're doing is amazing. Okay, that we need to address that, at the local level.
It's well, to organize. Yes, I think there are better ways to organize.
Right.
Yes, definitely. But that is, I mean, the evolution of our species is about that. Is about change. I mean, you know that it's to change and grow, or we die. So I think we are at that point. We are at that point in our evolution. So we are either going to change. And yes, I think all things need to change. How we organize, how we, our government. I mean, we have a democracy, but it's outdated. So yes, I agree. Yes, we can. But I don't know if at this point we are ready for that. I mean, like in stages. But I think for people like me who step in and try to do this and have a voice for a bigger change. I mean, everybody says, "Oh yeah, we want change. Yeah, let's change," and then everything stays the same. But I mean, that's why I'm trying to do my campaign completely different too. That all my ideas are green and sustainable, vegan, only vegan, no meat and dairy. And it's not about forcing people into a way of life. It is just about being an example for a better way of life.
Yeah.
It's not the speeches we make, it's the actions we take. And so many political leaders talk and talk and talk, but what are they doing in their personal lives? So they're day-to-day things to help change the planet. And I do believe little actions become big actions. Who we purchase all our products from, going to local businesses, ride your bike, walk, be loving, kind to one another. So things like that, which I know because you are doing them yourself. So it's, I'm in this race. I get the other night I was just so overwhelmed at already, and we are a year out of what's going on. The political machine has gobbled up all these endorsements. They've raised thousands of dollars. So it's like, but we're going to, we're moving. We want to create a movement. And get people on board to really change the world. I mean, it's like, on the local level, and then it's changing the world from our city, from our districts, from neighbor to neighbor, community to community. I know Wayne, Wayne from Direct, because he ran for mayor in Berkeley and didn't make it, which it really bummed me out because he's so brilliant. He would have made a great leader. He is a great leader. But once again, it was that viability of, I guess he was outraised. I don't really know what happened, but he would have been the better choice, and he didn't do it because I think people are still so afraid of someone who is really going to create change. You know what I mean? Like Bernie, we want change. People want change, but just not too much. It's like, oh, if it affects my pocketbook and affects my own front yard, it's like Bernie would have been the best choice, but he threatened people because the change was too great. So it's this, and we have to have full on change. Otherwise we won't make it.
Yeah. And I think that's why people look at veganism as a full on change, because it is literally saying that human supremacism is a false belief. And without human supremacism, there is no white supremacism, there is no male supremacism. So, and all the other supremacisms are corollaries of human supremacism. So, when this is why veganism is so out of the mainstream in the current system, because we are still, clinging to the advantages that we got from white supremacism, from male supremacism, from all these other supremacisms, right? We got some advantages and we want to stick to it.
Yes, that's true. That's it. Yep, that's it. That's holding on to that power.
Right. It's holding on to that power. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I think so too. I think people are terrified. I mean, I love change. I mean, sometimes it's difficult, but once I see truth,
Hmm.
there's no one going back for me. Like once I saw that animals, the way they were treated and what it did to our bodies and to the planet, I was done. Like I couldn't imagine ever going back.
Right.
And then how it opens your heart and I completely changed once I woke up to that.
Right.
It opened up everything in a whole new way and also making that connection that we are all connected.
Right.
And that, yeah, there is no real difference. And that's the ego that Eckhart Tolle talks so beautifully about. It keeps us divided. It makes me better than you. It makes me have this. I can be this. When
Right.
really, we are all the same. And it's funny because I used to hear that and think, oh, that's so corny. We're all connected. But now I understand it. It's true.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's about, when we address human supremacism, it's saying that we are no better than any other species, right? We are just like any other species. And in fact, we need to get some humility on that, because every insect knows what to eat. A basic skill that we don't seem to have mastered as yet. Because we're eating all kinds of things,
I
which we
know.
know are not good for us, right?
Well, and there again, we have a system that feeds us crap and is allowed to do so. And
Right.
that then gets us unhealthy with our cheese and our meat and our clogging our arteries and our high blood pressure and diabetes, which all can be eradicated with a plant-based diet. And I mean, you've seen What the Health. I mean, it's brilliant. It shows exactly what is going on with our system and that they're allowed to do that, to kill people, make them sick. The pharma is in bed with the meat and dairy. The meat and dairy is in bed with the pharma. Big pharma, and then they all oil and gas, and they all then make billions of dollars off of the lives of all of us, and that people
Right.
continue to do it
Right. Right.
and put up with it and keep buying their products and their cheese and their meat and dairy and clogging their arteries and getting sick, and their immune system are, I think, too, partly why so many people got so sick with COVID is everybody's immune system is weakened from all the antibiotics they get from eating animals.
Right. Right. So Rebecca is asking, what do you think about having community centers with free food, free healthy food, and games, so that people can come together and see that as a basic right, that you get free food, healthy food is a basic right, and that's something that the city could facilitate.
Oh yeah, I
With
think it's
community
big
centers.
great.
Yeah.
We could do it at green spaces. I mean, there's community centers in all the parks in District 5.
Hmm.
Pan Pacific Park, I was just there. They've got a great community center and have, I think free food we need to house too. I mean, partly the homeless are out there because we don't have enough affordable housing.
Right.
And then, I mean, I shouldn't say there's a group also that are addicted on
Hmm.
drugs and alcohol and mentally ill, and they need to be housed in a different area. And then we need to take care of the families who are, I think 10%. Who can't afford a house, so they live in their car or something. And we have actually plenty of housing. We just don't have affordable housing, which is just outrageous in this city that we have created this mess, and it's directly correlated to our local government. And that's why Einstein says, I don't know word for word, but the mind that creates the problem can't be the mind that solves it. So
Right.
we have these same people in office who keep creating these problems, and they're all looking at it like, what do we do with this when they've created it? And nobody talks about that either in our local Dem clubs. Everybody just keeps applauding each other and, oh, it's so great. And when it's a disaster.
Hmm.
I mean, it's like someone's got to break the ceiling. Um, And I know I could be too also. I could get in, I don't know, trouble or something, but I don't care. I think it's, someone's got to speak truth to power. I mean, I created the Green Dream campaign and launched it a couple of years ago because the Democratic Party, they talk about climate emergency, and yet they don't do anything. And in their platform, for the state, you read all this environmental things. So I launched the Green Dream campaign, which was really great. It was vegan. It was the first Democratic vegan and plastic-free event. We had over 100 people there at a beautiful home. It was great. People said, what kind of food do we bring? How do we bring it if it's not in plastic? I said, so it was a success. We had plenty of great food. It was so much fun to see vegan food at a political affair. And it just showed that we could do it. And we also put in, so everybody took these code of ethics, 9 sustainable vows. And one of them is to serve vegan and organic options at all the, events now, to bring that into play, that it is possible for change, to, no more plastic. And and a lot of the clubs adopted this. And then I wanted to go all the way up, not just local Democratic clubs, but all the way up, the state to our LACDP, all the Democratic parties, and eventually, of course, Republicans, everybody could be on board with this, and all the way up to the state capitol, which, why isn't that green and sustainable? Why don't they have solar panels? And I mean, it's unbelievable. We talk about this, and yet we don't do it in the supposedly the most progressive state. But I think that's all smoke and mirrors too, because of Hollywood. Hollywood's here, so we're progressive, but our local government isn't at all. It's backward, and they're doing the same old thing, and everybody applauds it. And people continue to take oil and gas money, developer money, and so
but isn't that how the Ponzi scheme works? Because whoever has the most money then dictates what gets done.
Right.
That's the way the scheme is set up, no?
Yeah. But and that's the political leader who raises the most money in these races is the most viable, whether they're the better candidate or not. But that is changing. I mean, Nithya Raman, she won in District 4. She was a progressive organizer, so that was good. And she beat the incumbent, which shook everybody up. AOC over in the Bronx, she did it with the less amount of money than the big, not Republican, he was Democrat, but, he was part of the machine. And so change is possible. It just takes someone who has the courage to jump in. And I also sort of felt, well, someone's got to do it, and that's AOC said that too. Someone's got to shake it up a little bit, whether I win or lose. I hope my message is heard, and that the next, that it invites other people who have the same values to run also, and that we support each other. That's really, because I can't do it alone. We do it as a movement. I can't do it. And it's interesting though, I haven't gotten a lot of support from my animal activist people, my vegan friends. It's interesting. I don't know. And I even wonder though too, this is going to sound really strange, but we get so involved in a movement that we wonder if it is solved, what will we do? You know what I mean?
No, I think there's probably a question about, is it even viable, right? Your candidacy. So that's where people are hesitating, right? Because you're really, you have a base that is solid, okay? But that's the exact opposite of the system that you're trying to get into. Because that system is based on an ecological Ponzi scheme, right? And you're saying no, we are just like any other animal, right? So the Ponzi scheme depends on human supremacism. Okay, it's the foundation of it. That's how you create that pyramid.
Right. But so why would that stop people from supporting my candidacy who are also on board with making change and making the world a better place?
I don't know, but I mean, it is. I'm just guessing that people may be thinking, oh, is she going to win? Right? It's always about, am I backing a winner?
Right. But how can I do that unless I get people on board?
I know.
That's,
It's a catch 22, right?
I thought I would have like my vegans and my animal people and all just clamoring to get on board with my candidacy, and it hasn't been that way.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, we're doing an event this Thursday, although we may reschedule. It was people and their animals for Molly, where you bring your animal, and because
Hmm.
I also have an animal welfare platform, which no other candidate has, for the city of Los Angeles to help our animals on the streets. And we kill too many animals. And in the wealthiest city, one of the wealthiest cities in the world, we should not have this. We shouldn't have people on the streets. We shouldn't have animals on the streets. I mean, it's so archaic. It's so barbaric the way we live um,
Hmm.
in the 21st century. So we had this event. Were and nobody's signing on. It was like it's all about saving animals, helping animals. So I'm just sort of shocked that I'm not getting the support I thought I would. And
Hmm.
it is still early, but to put we need to get vegans in positions of power. And I mean, I think it's great that we march and we go do all these things and but we need the leaders who eventually sign the legislation
Right.
to make difference. Otherwise, we'll never, if we get vegans in places in positions of power, we can really make some large, and not just because they're vegan. I mean, of course, they have to be good leaders, and like I'm a community organizer. I've organized things. I'm on
Hmm.
committees. I've created like the Green Dream campaign out of nothing. I've been on that Democratic LACDP for years. I'm West LA Dem State National Issues Chair. I'm on the Sierra Club. I'm on the political committee. So there's all these other things. It's not just like I'm running out here and going, "Oh, I'm an animal activist, vegan. Elect me." I mean, I have all this history now behind me,
Hmm.
propel me into a compelling viable candidacy. And I do know I am the better candidate. I just know that from everybody who is running at this point. And I'm talking about also leaders. We need leaders too. We don't need another politician. We need leaders to create and inspire change.
Yeah. Ultimately, the leadership comes from um, getting support from the people, right? I
Right.
mean, everyone, even Cory Booker, who's a vegan in the Senate, he even said, "Look, change does not come from Washington. Change comes to Washington." So, so people have to kind of force them to change,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
No, that's true. It's a
Yeah,
mix.
it's a mix. Yeah.
But then in the end, it's like both. If we have people pushing for change, great. And yes, in the end, I mean, I was watching a documentary about the handicapped, the disabled, and how they made change and got rights. Because at one
Mhm.
time, you don't think about this. I didn't, um, and how they had to fight and they went and shut down buildings and went to Washington. And so, yes, I believe in that. And then it pushes the politicians. But what a great world if we had political leaders who didn't have to be pushed all the time, who did the right thing. That's what I'm saying. I think sometimes activists get worried, like what would their place, like what would happen if we had all vegan political leaders and a vegan world and what
Mhm.
would we do? Where,
Right.
where would our place be? So I'm just saying, I think some people still they want to stay in the problem because if you solve the problem, what would they do? I'm just saying that's sort of what I think you know what I mean?
Right. I mean, I think it was Anthony de Mello who said, people don't fear the unknown; they fear the loss of the known.
Right, right,
Right? Yeah, because they know this situation and they don't want to let go.
right,
And especially those who have advantages in the current system, right? Who, these are all perceived advantages. I mean, you think you have an advantage, but you really don't know what the other system could be much, much better, right? And everyone will be much better off than what you're experiencing right now. But people don't want, cannot imagine that until we show them. We really have to build something to show them. So this is
right,
why
right.
I was asking about the community centers in parks where you could have these free healthy food, so that people who are down and out on their luck are actually getting the best food,
Right.
right? Because
Well,
they deserve the best food. Yeah.
right. Well, and you've started doing that, right?
Yeah, we started doing that, but from the bottom up, right? So I really think that if the city can support something like that, it would just balloon,
Yes, I agree.
blossom. Yeah.
I mean, of course, I would support something like that. I support everything that is helping people, planet, and animals for the greater good of all. I
Mhm.
really believe that it's not helping one group and then helping the other, and that is once again the Ponzi scheme, the division. I mean, it's so clear here. Eventually, it's like people get elected, and then they tend to take care of the wealthiest, the people who can contribute the most to their candidacy.
Right.
So, and you said something also about, people creating a movement. And yes, once we're out of this COVID lockdown, which we are now getting out, we're going to have live events where I can
Mhm.
speak to the people. I want to go meet people, go to businesses and talk and share um, my message, my vision, and get
Mhm.
groups together in parks. Maybe we could even do something with the food, serving the food while,
Mhm.
raising awareness. So, I mean, yeah, I'm all for whatever is for the greater good of all. I mean, because to have one part of our world, I mean, it's just, to me, it's just barbaric. We've been doing that since the beginning of time. Isn't it time to change? It's like, people are still hunting, killing innocent animals. It's like, come on, guys, we did that. Aren't we over that yet? These cowboys and Indians things. It's just, I don't know. It's so weird to me. People stay stuck in these, the guns. We deserve our guns. Like, I mean, that should be completely eradicated. That whole thing about, we have the right to bear arms. I mean, I can't even imagine feeling that afraid that you had to carry a gun. I mean, that to me is such a sad. We create such small-minded people with those old ideas of who we are.
Mhm.
Don't you think? I
Right.
mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw something on Twitter. This photo of a father teaching his son, and it was about they were lowering the age of when you could carry a gun or something, like to
Mhm.
14. I mean, and so the father is teaching this young boy how to shoot a gun, and they're killing an innocent raccoon who's looking up at the barrel of a gun. And I thought, oh my gosh, like that. How do we live in a world that still teaches that? And people, yeah, I mean, people say they have a right and all that stuff. I just think it's time for real change, that we change up here,
Right.
which will change our actions. And I do know change has happened. A lot of great things have changed, but it's gotta now. We really need to change the leaders and who we're voting in, and getting rid of the Ponzi scheme, and eventually creating a whole new way of organizing, like you said.
Right.
I don't know what that looks like, but I do think one thing I do believe, I believe it is all possible, but it takes all of not. I mean, it takes someone who's willing to speak truth to power and bring these ideas out.
Right. See, but it's human nature when someone does you a favor to try and return the favor, right? I mean,
Right.
to basically reciprocate. And so it's kind of becomes like human nature to take care of those who have given you the most money. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Bribing.
And so, I mean, how could you say no to someone who has given you all this money, right? So this is how I think we, even good people, gets kind of sucked into the Ponzi scheme. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so this is why I see this as a very systemic issue. It's a system that's designed to maintain itself.
Yeah,
so
but what about getting money from people who are doing good?
Mm-hmm. Right.
There are some vegan billionaires out there who I'm approaching to, and yet also in city council, you have to they make it very difficult for people like me to run. The system also is designed so people like me, grassroots candidates, it's make it very difficult. In fact, people told me when I decided to run, oh, you better not. You're going up against the system. You're not going to have a chance. It's really hard. Raising money. Our maximum donation is $800. So that's nothing, right? So we can't take, supposedly that's supposed to help us. So there's no fraud.
Right.
And it's interesting, it's only city council. So they make it so difficult. So then the political machine comes in who have their list and their donors already from years. And they just raise the money, boom, 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 sending out emails. And someone like me, it's been, it's an uphill battle. But that's why I'm saying I'm approaching then, because I won't take money from, and even if people, if someone said, well, I gave you all this money, you have to implement this law that's going to hurt the planet, I wouldn't do it. I couldn't do it. So that's where we need people now with courage, leaders who are led by their integrity, not by someone, people are just so willing to sell their soul for what? Money to what? Buy a bigger house, car, what? Things. It just shocks me. Because we know in the end that is not what fulfills us.
Right.
But so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get people who support my campaign, who have money and can give donations, but are coming from clean energy, renewable energy, vegan companies, people who are doing good for the planet, people and animals. Why can't we have things that are good instead of all this bad, all these unacceptable behaviors? That's what I mean. And it's so interesting. The wealthiest corporations in the world are all destroying the planet, people, and animals. And yet they've made billions of dollars. And yet we think that's okay. That's the norm. We've become deadened to the fact that people are doing outrageous things to the people, planet, and animals. I mean, there is a lot of really horrendous things that go on in this planet, not just to animals and stuff, but to each other, to human, that just sometimes causes me to weep. And I have had thoughts where, oh my gosh, we sell human beings for sex trafficking. And it's a growing business, billions of dollars. I mean, and then I think, how do we ever change? How do we get from that to, a clean, vegan, beautiful world, or sustainable? And yet those horrendous acts are happening to each other. I mean, but I think it is possible. I think change is possible because we are a species that is designed for it in our evolutionary process, right?
Right.
I mean, just like birds, every animal is designed to evolve, and we are too. But if we don't, we shall perish.
So your community organizing skills that you are bringing to this, do you think that you could then create a parallel system like that, which is for the people, planet, and animals? So let these guys just continue playing their game.
Oh yeah, that's true. And create something, a whole new party.
Right, a whole new.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Yeah, I mean, and what this is, I'm running. I want to get my message out, create a platform, show that it's possible to be a viable candidate that's also doing good. If I don't win, then I will do something like that. But it will at least get the message out, and someone has to try to break open this political machine system that's going on. I mean, it's just outrageous. They want, and they want. It's this whole thing too. They want a certain candidate, and already it's so obvious what's going on.
Right. See, the whole Ponzi scheme depends upon making people eat bad food. That has to be that's the foundation of it, is that making people eat bad food, especially those who making that cheaper, right? So having fast foods and things like that, promoting that, so that people don't think very well. And this is why I think it is revolutionary what Sarah is trying to do there. It's revolutionary, getting healthy food to people and making it easily available to everybody. And organizing around that would be a great way to create an alternate model. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I will get in touch. Sarah and I have shared phone calls. We haven't met. I've been trying to get this event organized, but once that's done, then I'll have more time. But I know I want to go out and serve the food with her and see.
Wonderful.
And meet the people. And I told you I went to and volunteered at a food bank downtown Los Angeles, and I couldn't. I had to. Well, we all were wearing face masks anyway, but because the food, it just wasn't good food, and it actually made me not feel good. And
made you nauseous.
Right. I couldn't go back. Meat in these plastic. I think it's also so amazing. Everything is wrapped in plastic, and plastic is fossil fuel. Our fabulous, oil and gas, who run the world and who are doing such bad things to all of us, and people just keep buying plastic bottle. I mean, it should be outlawed. And yet people try to outlaw it, and then the lobbyists come in and people sell out. I mean, it's just unbelievable that you would sell your fellow humans for money. I just can't even imagine that mindset. So we've got to change, or we shall perish. But yes, I believe, organizing is a great way. And I agree too, that all this junk that people eat and drink and sodas and crap and drive-throughs, and it has diminished our thinking process. Plus now the addiction to social media, all the things that keep us distracted and put into our system weakens us and keeps us, pliable for everybody to the masses, right? Masses are just dragged around by the Ponzi schemes.
Right. Rebecca had another suggestion. He said, how about giving awards to those who use the least energy? then the houseless would be getting the reward money,
Really?
and they'll get recognition for using the least amount of energy.
That's true. I was in a yoga class the other day, and there was my friend Brendan. He said, "I'm selling everything. I'm becoming a minimalist." I thought it was so great. People are waking up, and a lot of people are in different ways, living in smaller homes. I mean, we don't need that much. You can live very simply and live happily.
Right.
And I'm not saying bad things are, I'm not saying that abundance is bad. I'm just saying what you do with it.
Right.
It's great to have a lot of abundance, but help others, help the planet. You don't need, it's not about all the stuff. And I've had a lot of stuff. I was raised with it and was married into it and had a lot of money and a lot of stuff, and it never brought me happiness. What has given me real happiness is to serve and to serve others and the people, planet, and animals. And that's also why I'm running, to be a public servant. Political leaders are supposed to be public servants.
Right.
The people do not serve us. And that's where it gets turned around, and it's all of a sudden, the politicians become royalty, which royalty is so ridiculous to me. I mean, that to me is the biggest Ponzi scheme. You know what I mean? These people live in a palace and the taxpayers pay for them and they travel around in their private jets and while people are dying on their streets. I mean, come on. Oh, we do that. Our presidents and vice presidents become political royalty.
Right.
And that's where it's, the division. Oh yeah, I'm up here, I'm down here. It's just so ridiculous. But I do want to come. I also would love to open up, yes, community centers where we serve good food. Also where I'm available, talk to people. I'm accountable. I'm transparent. People know what's going on in their local government. I want to have town halls every month or every other month so I don't get elected and I hide out and nobody can find me ever again because I make all this money. I'm also want to take my income, because it's a lot. City council make a lot. I want to send some older kids to college who are in the system and may not get that opportunity. So I want to tithe my money. They call it tithing or something, where I'm giving back. So it's not just, I'm going to take this money and I don't, whatever, buy a car with it or something, but I want to do good. So I just think, and then if I'm an example, maybe get all the other city council people to do that and have all the city council have community centers where we are serving good food. That's what I mean, creating a movement within the political system also. And if we're doing it, Lorraine Lundquist ran, she almost won. She was a vegan. Great, brilliant. Of course, she didn't win. She ran up against this guy who was actually corrupted, and he won. So that just shows you where our systems, the values are. But hopefully she runs again. But if we have more progressive, more people who are willing to change on the city council and get all of the city council on board of doing these things too, would be so fantastic, because city council, you have to get a certain amount of votes to get things passed. So if we all came together rather than create a division, because ultimately, I mean, even creating the districts create division, when we should come together as community, neighbor to neighbor, I call it neighbor to neighbor.
Right.
And
so, I think, you mentioned something about minimalism, right? And that serving others makes you happy, right? Because you're smart, you figured that out. There are a lot of people who haven't figured that out. And they're stuck. And they're the ones who have the most money.
I know.
Right? Because they haven't figured it out yet.
I know. It's so funny to me. The people with the most money, and they keep buying things like houses here and houses there. Like, how many houses do you need? Plus, it's just not sustainable. It's ridiculous. Or a yacht. Like, I can't even imagine just sitting around sailing on a yacht. I mean, I don't know. It's just so funny. It's like this. To me, it's just so it's such an old idea. Right. Instead of a world where we live and serving each other, having beautiful community, and that we are offered, the government is for us, not against us, isn't serving crappy food that's unhealthy, isn't allowing, I mean, the FDA, they're not our friend. They put stamps on things that are, killing people, but good things like stevia, right? The natural sweetener, they won't put their stamp on that because it would stop all that, whatever they use. I don't even know anymore if they have the artificial sweeteners like Sweet and Low and stuff, it's just like eating chemicals. Right. It's just sad to me that we live in a world that it has been allowed to use the people to make money, and then not, even Amazon, like I don't buy things on Amazon. I will go to my local, even if it's like people go, well, it takes 2 days. Like, what happened to the patience of waiting for something to arrive, or going to a store? Like, I won't buy a book on Amazon. I will go to my local bookstore. I just think, Jeff Bezos has destroyed a lot of the entrepreneurs, the small businesses, and his trucks. Now he's going electric, which is great, but his packaging is all styrofoam and plastic, and I mean, it's just on and on. So once again, we have $1 billion. He's like the richest man in the world. Right. Which I think is so funny. It's so funny. Like, it's like, to me, like such a fairy tale. You know what I mean? The richest man in the world. It's like, I just think it's so funny because really money is an illusion anyway, but that's a whole nother, that's a whole nother episode. Because, that's, he's just, they're allowed to destroy the planet while making billions of dollars. And yet we put up with it. So it's also conscious consumerism. Right. We need to conscious consumer, read where your products are made, who's making them. That's, there's still a lot of slave labor in this world. Right. And that, it's just on and on. You find new things new atrocities, that need to stop. It needs to stop. And I believe it can start on the local level, having a leader who says no. That's how Martin Luther King created change, Jesus Christ, all of them who came up and spoke truth to power. Except they then perished because of speaking that truth to power. And that's what's also said. We get rid of the truth tellers, right. And that's again the Ponzi scheme, right? Mm-hmm. So if I disappear,
oh no, we're gonna see a lot of you.
I'm saying, no, if they get rid of me.
No, there'll be a lot of community organizing that needs to get done, Molly. Yes. So we need you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so I'm open. This is a platform to have a bigger platform, a bigger voice, get the message out, and I'm just hoping that it then leads to something else. Obviously, right. I think it will. Whether I win or lose, it's going to get the message out, and that It's going to also invite more people like me to run. Yeah. Because we haven't had a lot of progressive. Well, Nithya finally did, and she won. So let's see. And she started out slow too. She didn't get a lot of endorsements. Mm-hmm. And then the wave came for her. The movement came. Because then people realized she was the real deal and wanted to create change, not just talk about it.
Well, thank you so much, for what you're doing.
Thank you for what you're doing.
Yeah. And no matter what, I'm sure, things are going to be work out for the best for you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's trust. It's taking the step.
Right.
Some
In
nights
fact,
huh?
Tammy is saying we need to start sacred community commerce.
Yes.
So sacred community commerce, like that. So I mean, based on what you were saying, this is commerce within the community, as opposed
Yeah.
to waiting for someone from Amazon to send us stuff.
And also just not purchasing things anymore. I mean, I know people go, well, it's so hard, but I don't know when we became a people that don't. I mean, I know our parents generations ago, they always worked together for the greater good. They would sacrifice things. I mean, we come from stock that crossed the country and covered wagons, crossed the Atlantic Ocean in ships without any comforts. And yet now we can't, we can't wait for a package for a day. I mean, or help our neighbor out, or, I mean, I don't know what has happened to us where we've lost that. It's really sad where it's a sense of entitlement. And the Roman Empire, they destroyed themselves because of that. They've stopped,
Right.
And any great civilization who starts thinking that they're entitled and doesn't put the greater good first always destroys themselves.
Right.
And that's, I mean, people didn't even want to wear masks. I mean, what's the big deal about wearing a mask if someone is upset that, I mean, just help each other.
Right. But I think if you go and talk to the houseless population in Los Angeles, you'll find the same community is back. They're helping each other out.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think it's a matter of, I mean, it is there within us. It's just not yet kindled. And it's there waiting to be kindled.
Right. And I think, it just takes a strong message and to help people wake up, and people with money who it's like, oh yeah, I need to help others. I need to get on board with this. I mean, that's why I love, like Bill Gates, he wants to give all his money away before he dies, which that's the way it is because, but so many people cling to their, I don't know. It's just so funny to me. This, it all comes down to fear. The ego wants the greatest fear of the ego is looking bad. And so most people, it's all about building up the outside. And I know it comes up for me too, but I'm conscious of it, so I work on it. But I sometimes, so I see it, but so that's what it's about. It's about fear. It all comes down to fear, having the most, wanting the most. I think I will lose this. I'm scared. What will I do? But if you don't live in fear, then you're free.
Right.
Yeah.
James Baldwin, I think, was the one who said that what other people think of you is none of your business.
Right. It's true. But I still have that little, thing, but I'm like, I see it now too. And like, even with my campaign, I'll say, oh my gosh, I don't want to look bad. I don't want to not raise enough money. I don't, that still goes in, and I think, okay, Molly, that's not what it's about. That's your, so I can, but it's still, there. It's not as great as it used to be. But I think I always say, if I can do it, others can. I mean, I was raised in a Republican, meat-eating, consumerized family. It was always, we had the most, the best, we had our own cattle. My dad we had our own beef and was on the other property. And then I mean, I look back, chicken and everything was just over the top. It's interesting how I came out, although my mom was very spiritual. I did get that. um, and they also helped people. My parents were always helping people. So I had that, in the back of my head. They were always helping the homeless, the needy. My dad would support like the guy down the street. So I had that in the back of my head of to serve others. But I was raised in that environment of a lot of stuff. And I went into the world and always had people around me had a lot of stuff and things and jets and, but the more like I've awakened, and especially when I became vegan, everything changed. It was like, and then of course through the years, the evolution, my meditation, my yoga practice, all of it has brought me to a point of releasing things, knowing that I'm not my things. But I also say, if you have abundance, that's great. I'm not saying that, sell everything and go on a pilgrimage, but help others and make the world a better place with your abundance that you do have.
Right.
I mean, that's what I want to do. And it doesn't take a lot to do that either.
On that note, perfect. Thank you so much, Molly.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rao. I love you. And I think what you're doing is amazing. So,
thank you.
All of my, fellow activists and vegans, I really believe we can do it.
Right. Yeah.
But I will get a hold of Sarah. I'm going to go serve food with her.
Wonderful. Good luck with everything.
Thank you. And then I'll contact you.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Thank you so much. Blessings to all.
Blessings to you.